Hello, hello. Today we'll be looking at Soviet versus Western reactor design. A couple points of what we will not be covering. We're looking at mid-1900s and production designs, not experimental or very modern designs. The main Russian design of the era is the RBMK reactor. A couple of points on reactor design to make sure we're on the same page. Nuclear reactors are steam turbines. This doesn't really matter, so we'll mostly be ignoring that part of it. The things of interest to us are the nuclear fuel, neutron moderation, coolants, and the control rods. The Russian RBMK is a boiling water reactor. This means it uses a single loop where the water used as coolant for the reactor is converted directly to steam and used to power a turbine. The pressurized water reactor was considered a Western design by the Soviet Union and has two loops. The water used as coolant for the reactor is superheated but not boiled and is used to generate steam in a second loop, which is then used to power the turbine. Regardless of design, the coolant loop is closed loop and is not released to the atmosphere, so there's no radiation release under normal operations. To sustain fission, each fission division must trigger one new one. If you have less, then the reaction peters out, and if you have more, you get a runaway. Slower neutrons are better, except in exotic modern designs. This means that neutron moderation is used to slow down the neutrons from fission so that they're more able to provoke a new fission reaction. Slowing neutron produces heat, so the neutron moderator is often also the coolant. Water works as both, but it also somewhat poisons the reaction as it can absorb a neutron, becoming deuterium, or deuterium becoming tritium. Very early designs that weren't used for power production used graphite moderation, and the RBMK does as well, as this reduces the poison effect. Modern designs can also use heavy water or molten salt or many other non-water coolants and moderators. Fuel enrichment. U-238 also slows the reaction, so concentrating the U-235 is necessary for some designs. By using graphite moderation, RBMK reactors could use less enriched fuel, which was a significant cost savings. Cost was a major factor for the reactor. It also used multiple smaller pressure vessels, which allowed on-site construction instead of having to build at a central location and ship large parts into the field. This did cause it to have a large size of reactor for a given power generation, and thus they ended up skipping the containment shell. It would also help that boiling water reactors operate at lower pressure than pressurized water reactors. A main concern for the BWR is the void coefficient. Using water as a moderator and coolant has a side effect. If the water boils, creating pockets of steam, the steam has lower moderation properties than the liquid water. RBMK reactors are over-moderated, which means that if there is more steam bubbles, there's less neutron moderation. This causes a positive feedback loop. This made RBMK reactors exhausting to operate and increased mechanical wear as they were constantly being adjusted to keep things in balance. Enrichment was increased to increase the stability of the system. However, this was not enough, and as you may have guessed, the reactor at Chernobyl was an RBMK design. The positive void coefficient combines with the positive Schramm effect, which is when the graphite control rods were inserted, they displaced water. The tips of the control rods were not a neutron moderator, which meant that as the control rods were inserted, you essentially created a similar positive void to the steam bubbles. This meant that as the reactor ran away, attempting to scram the reactor, shutting down the reaction, caused a brief spike in the reactor as it began to shut down, which caused the initial explosion. The lack of containment increased the impact of the fallout. A containment similar to Western designs likely would have resulted in little to no impact outside of the immediate vicinity of the reactor. Pressurized water reactors are not over-moderated and thus have a negative void coefficient. If the reactor begins to run away, it will slow itself down. This also means that there's no positive scram on the control rods. If the control rods displace water, that actually serves as more moderation. An additional difference between pressurized water and boiling water reactors is that the higher pressure can improve heat transfer. They operate around the boiling water reactors are pressurized, but pressurized water reactors operate about 50 degrees Kelvin higher. Post Chernobyl, the boiling water reactors, the RBMK designs, were upgraded further. The rod tips were extended so that the water in the control rod path is always displaced, meaning there's no positive void effect when the rods are inserted, eliminating the positive scram effect. Fuel enrichment was increased again, further increasing stability. Since Chernobyl, there has been a generally reliable safety record for the Soviet designs. In conclusion, pressurized water reactors are likely the future of reactor design, as they can use exotic salts or lead coolants, while boiling water reactors are essentially always going to use water as their coolant and partially as a moderator. However, I think that some of the hate of the RBMK reactor is overrated. They're not entirely without merit and can be safely designed and operated, though in at least one case they were not. Thank you.